Full-size luxury sedans are certainly an important model in any luxury manufacturer. Just take a look at the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. It is the quintessential standard in this segment. So when Hyundai entered this market back in 2009 with the original Equus, it raised a lot of eyebrows. How could Hyundai, a vehicle known for value and inexpensive cars, create a vehicle that could go head-to-head with Mercedes, BMW, and Audi? Well, this week, Genesis, that's right, Hyundai's new luxury division, has sent me over their replacement for the Equus. This is the 2017 Genesis G90. Is it worth a look in this very, very competitive and loyal segment? Let's take a look and find out. If you take a look at the statistics in this segment, you'll see that a lot of buyers who can afford a car like this are extremely loyal. I mean, most of you who own a German vehicle will literally just replace it every 3 to 5 years whenever the warranty expires. So when the original Equus first came to the US back in 2010, it was basically like a huge middle finger to the European and Japanese luxury brand. This was Hyundai introducing a full-fledged luxury car that was based on a rear-drive chassis that offered standard V8 power that really took the market by surprise. It was more of a luxury sedan than Acura had ever developed, that Lincoln really had ever developed, and that Infiniti had really ever developed. And it really went to challenge the Mercedes-Benz S-Class and BMW 7 Series. Now, a lot of loyalists will say, no, you could not have a Hyundai badge with a luxury brand, which is exactly why Hyundai decided to spin off their own luxury brand for the 2017 model year. And the Genesis G90 represents the brand's first new model. If you guys look at the G80, that used to be the old Hyundai Genesis sedan, rebadged of course, which will be getting a refresh for the 2018 model year. Now you can see for this second generation Equus, now known as the Genesis G90, Genesis took a very conservative route with the design. I mean, you can tell it's all new versus the old Hyundai Equus. If you guys remember, I did a full review back in 2014 when the company first refreshed it. Now, the front end, it has, Hyundai or Genesis is still kind of trying to figure out their design language. It has a lot of styling resemblance to the current Genesis G80 sedan with that 5-point grille, the swept-back headlights. This particular model that I'm showing you has the new 3.3-liter twin-turbo V6. It has standard bi-xenon headlights. They are adaptive. They have automatic high beams. If you guys go for the 5-liter V8, which is basically carried over, you'll get LED headlights as standard. I kind of wish that Genesis just made LED headlights standard on all models. Most vehicles in this segment include that. The bi-xenons are definitely a little bit more on the dated side. Now, coming around the sides, these wheels are 19 inches in diameter. They're staggered wheels. They're fatter, 275s in the back, 245s in the front. I'm not terribly happy with the wheel design. Genesis did a design like this for aerodynamics to reduce the drag on the wheels when this car is driving down the road. I kind of wish that Genesis offered a bigger wheel design, a sportier 5-spoke wheel design to give this car more of a presence. I think the wheels particularly don't match the entire silhouette of this car. But if you look at the overall length, this is a big vehicle. It stretches nearly 205 inches long. It has a 124.5-inch wheelbase, which if you look at the numbers, it's about 2 inches longer than the old Equus and about 4.5 inches longer in wheelbase than the old Equus. And it also sits about 1 inch wider. Roughly, they're about the same height. So Genesis stretched this vehicle out. It literally is right on top of the Mercedes-Benz S-Class and the BMW 7 Series and Audi A8 in terms of the overall length. Now out back, the LED taillights are standard. They have kind of a Jaguar resemblance to it, especially the XJ, their flagship, with the way the taillights are shaped. The chrome exhaust outlets are integrated into the exhaust, which do look nice. They are finished off nicely. You can tell this is a V6 from the 3.3T badge. My particular one also has the company's H-Track all-wheel drive system. That's a big change because Hyundai did not offer the Equus with all-wheel drive. Now you can get all-wheel drive on the the twin-turbo V6 or the V8, which is a huge advantage in this segment, and a lot of buyers really demand it. I mean, overall, I think this design certainly is conservative. It's handsome. It'll age well, probably, but it just doesn't have that pizzazz, that wow factor. One thing that really annoys me about this car is Genesis only offers it in 5 colors. You can either take your pick between brown, silver, white, gray, or black, and that's really a huge negative on this car, because literally you can go buy a Mercedes-Benz S-Class and you could paint it whatever color you want if you want to pay an extra fee. The interior is also only offered in 2 colors, either black or beige, and that's also another issue with a lot of buyers in this segment. So hopefully Genesis will realize that, rectify it, and start offering this car in more, color combinations and offer like some kind of a sport package. But enough about the exterior. Let's take a look at the inside and see how it compares to the outside. Now, as expected, the Genesis G90 does come standard with the company's smart key access system with push button start. Here is the new key fob that I showed you on the G80 a couple of months ago. It's a nice key fob. It feels good in your hands. To lock the door, you have to push the button here. That locks the door. The mirror is also electrically fold if you have it set that way. To unlock it, I like the fact that there's a sensor on the back of the door handle. That unlocks the door for you. Another thing that this car has is soft closed doors. You kind of expect that in this segment, so all you have to do is just kind of click it, and you can see the door automatically shuts for you. But opening the door and looking at the cabin, you can see I'm pretty much blown away by this interior. It is literally the nicest cabin that I've ever seen parent company Hyundai do. It literally has very little resemblance to any Hyundai product in the past. Genesis went and developed a lot of their own switchgear. There is a little bit of corporate part sharing, but it's in strategic places, so you're not really gonna notice it. The seats are extremely comfortable. They're 22-way adjustable on the driver's side. They're really just missing a massage function. They're heated and cooled, but they hold you in place very well. Even the headrests are power adjustable. They go up and down and forward and back. The lumbar is 4-way power adjustable. So in terms of that luxury feel, when you look at the interior, the Genesis G90 definitely delivers it when you first take a look at it. Now, stepping inside, you can see it has a really nice easy step in height. This is a luxury sedan. The roof isn't too low, so you don't have to duck your head. And shutting the door, it sounds nice and solid when it shuts, so you really expect that in a vehicle when you're going to spend this much money. Now, to start the vehicle up, all you have to do is keep the key inside the vehicle and then push your foot on the brake, push this button here to fire it up. Now, what you're hearing is the all-new 3.3 liter twin-turbo V6. This is an all-new engine design. Genesis, or Hyundai, really has spent a lot of money in developing this all-new boosted 6, and you're going to start seeing this engine in smaller Hyundai products, so it's nice to get some seat time behind the wheel with this new motor. But you can see here, looking at the rest of this cabin, the materials in here are just really nice. I mean, the dashboard has some soft leather stitching across the entire portion. Everything in here fits well. There's real aluminum, there's real wood, although I will say that the wood, I don't like the glossy finish. Genesis offers a nice matte finish wood, a natural grain wood on the G80. I don't know why they chose not to go with that route in the G90. It just looks it looks fake, even though they've assured us that this is real wood. The rest of the center stack here, you can see lots of buttons. They're pretty well labeled. The switchgear has a nice, aluminum finish to it. I love the fact that there are traditional knobs here. There's 4 knobs for the, the volume, the tuning, the climate control. And then, of course, what you're also seeing here is the huge 12.3-inch display. This literally, makes the Genesis interior much differentiated from any Hyundai product. You can see here going to the home screen, it has all your different sources there, and it reminds you you're in a luxury sedan. Looking at the door panel here, the leather extends to the upper portion here. There's more of that wood, aluminum. The door handle, though, on the other hand, does feel like plastic, so I'm surprised they didn't use the aluminum on the door handle. You can see here there's also 3-way, 3-person memory seats. The window switches have a nice tactile premium feel to them. They're one touch for all 4. They also slow down before they shut so it doesn't slam. There's plenty of additional leather stitching right here on the armrest. Down here it's also soft touch, and there's some felt behind this portion here, so you're not going to be touching some cheap plastic if you're going to be putting something in the door pockets. The steering wheel also has lots of soft leather. It's a nice 4-spoke design, so you can rest your hand here while you're driving. There's even leather on this part on the actual airbag cover. The leather is very soft. The stitching feels nice. The paddle shifters, on the other hand, do feel a little bit plasticky, so I'm seeing a little bit of cost cutting there. Another Hyundai source product that I'm seeing here is the turn signal socks, which are fine. You're going to find that in any Toyota or Lexus product or Honda Acura product, and whatnot. One thing I am noticing, the digital or the display here, the instrument cluster, it has like a little 7-inch helper screen there. The old Equus had a 12.3-inch LCD display for this. Instead, what Genesis did is they moved that LCD display to here, which is fine because the old Equus Equus had like a 9.2-inch display. If you look at like a Mercedes-Benz S-Class, it has two 12-inch monitors. So it would have been nice to see Genesis go that route as well. Of course, the Mercedes is a lot more expensive. I'm not going to complain, too much about that. Let's go back to the center console here because I want to show you a couple of things. First of all, when you put the vehicle into reverse, you have a very nice 360-degree camera system, and it shows you trajectory as well, distance markers. This vehicle does have parking sensors front and rear. The mirrors will also fold down when you put it into reverse, and the rear window sunshade also goes up and down when you put it into reverse as well. I mean, it's a really nice backup camera system. One thing this vehicle doesn't have is any automatic parallel parking function, which is surprising to me because a lot of its competitors do offer that, but you can go here and change the views if you need to, see a certain area of the car. So that's very nice. If you also put it into drive, you can see here a nice little, curb view if you guys are, trying to get in and out of a spot, or you're trying to parallel park without curbing your wheels. So I mean, in terms of the technology, the Genesis G80 certainly delivers. It is missing a couple of features here, but I'm literally nitpicking. This is a much less expensive vehicle. Now let's go over to, the map function here. I want to show you the navigation system. Now it does have the graphics of a standard Hyundai product, but you can see here on this big 12.3-inch monitor, it does look great. It has the 3D views. It would be nice to see, Genesis develop something a little bit more high-tech, a little bit more wow, but this big screen certainly helps. It makes this interior look a lot more upscale versus the, smaller G80. Now, let's go back here to the radio sources. Now, one thing you're going to see is this is not a touch screen, so don't go sitting here try to put, fingerprint marks on it. You have to use this controller right here, which is very BMW and Audi like. Surprisingly, this isn't a handwriting pad. Instead, it just works like, you kick it, you scroll it, you can, move it in different directions, and it works pretty well. So I'm happy to say that, I really like the interface of this car. It works, very well. It's easy to use, much better than what I've used in a lot of current Lexus products. So really keep it simple. Use a knob to control everything so you don't have to, take your eyes off the wheels too much. I really like the fact that, you can get your nav system on this side, your radio sources there, and then your presets there. Going back to the home screen here, you can see there's your phone settings here. There's setup. There's the Blue Link is Hyundai's telematics system. It does have, search with Google. One thing that the system is missing is Android Auto and CarPlay. I really don't understand why Genesis decided not to offer it. They do the same thing on the G80 with the larger 9.2-inch display. It doesn't have Android Auto and CarPlay. Hopefully Genesis decides to rectify that. Until then, that's a really big bad omission, but honestly, I want to say a lot of vehicles in this segment don't offer that feature as well. Now, coming down here, you're looking at this shifter. This controls the 8-speed automatic. Now, this is a Genesis design transmission. It is, class competitive for gears, although now that Lexus is coming out with a 10-speed and Mercedes is going to be putting a 9-speed, it is starting to look, down a gear compared to some competitors, but it gets the job done. I really like this new shifter. You push forward and push this button here to go into reverse, come back and it'll go into drive. Park is accessed by pushing this button here. It works fairly well. It's fairly intuitive. I have no problem with it at all. There's a nice little storage compartment here for your phone that does have a wireless charger if you have a phone that's compatible. Your USB is there. One thing though, with the iPhone 7 that I have here, if you put the phone there, it doesn't actually close, so you have to leave it open. But just keep in mind that the larger Plus phones will fit, you just can't close the lid. Just keep that in mind if you guys want to be able to do that. Looking down here, you can see there's some cup holders, more of that wood trim. Your heated and cooled seat functions are here. 3 levels, you have a 2-level heated steering wheel. This controls your rear power sunshade, and then everything else is accessed through, the back and the menu buttons here. Looking on the center console lid, it's nice and padded with some leather stitching. You can access it by pushing this. There's decent storage. There's 2 12 volts in there. You can see it's lined with felt, so it's nicely finished. Looking over here, you can see there's the glove compartment. It's lined with felt. It's also pretty large in size. Now, one thing I want to talk about briefly is the Lexicon audio system. It's 17 speakers, like 900 watts. It sounds great. It's really class competitive with a lot of its competitors, but it's also far less expensive. If you guys want like the upgraded audio and like an Audi or Mercedes, you have to spend like $6,000 or more on Burmester or Bang & Olufsen. But overall, I really like the finishes that Genesis used in the interior. It has really nice suede Alcantara. This standard size sunroof is included on all the models, but there's no big pano roof. I just wish that there was a pano roof and massaging seats and maybe like an automatic parallel parking function, but overall, I'm pretty impressed with this interior. And I think a lot of you, who don't spend a lot of time in a Mercedes or BMW, you're going to get into this interior and be wowed. Those of you who do have those type of vehicles, you're going to kind of look at this and see a little bit of cost cutting, but honestly not very much considering the price that you're saving when you decide to go with this vehicle. Now the rear seat is extremely important in this class of vehicle, and the G90 definitely doesn't disappoint. You can see this is the standard size car, and that's where I have the seat to drive. Check out that legroom. Check out the controls there on the center console, and you can, this does seat 5. There is a large center, hump there for the drive shaft, but the rear seat is certainly executive class level, what you expect in this segment. Now getting in, you can see here, the space is just plentiful. It's crazy. I love the back seat in this car. And then when you shut the door, it also has the soft close function, but it sounds nice and solid, just like the front seats. Now, sitting back here, you can see, check out this legroom. This is just ridiculous. There's also a nice little LED there. There's very nice LED lighting in this cabin. You kind of expect that. Now, checking out back here, the headroom is cut in a little bit because of the sunroof, although Genesis does give you like a little bit of an push out portion here. There's plenty of LED lighting throughout the cabin, although the Equus, I remember, had like a little flip down mirror here. So again, Genesis took that feature away. The Equus also had reclining rear seats. Now you can get that feature back along with the cooled function if you guys go for the V8. The V6 model is gypped a little bit. You don't get that feature. One thing I really like is the fact that you can control the sunshades here. They are power. You can also control it on the other side as well, to give you that that extra level of control. It's very nice that Genesis included that. You can also adjust the passenger seat here and move it forward if you guys are sitting here. This is actually the seat you want to be in because you can move this seat forward. If you guys go for the V8, it gives you like 14-way adjustability. No massage function, of course. The front seats don't offer it, but you do get heated rear seats. The V8 models give you cooled seats, so you have your own separate climate controls back here. It's 3-zone, and you can even control, the infotainment system from back here with this knob. It looks just like the front, so that's definitely very cool to have. You can even turn off the display if you want, in case it's starting to bother you from all the light. Looking over here, there's 2 more power outlets. There's rear seat vents, and then if you need 2 cup holders basically pop out right there, and give you some nice storage. Speaking of storage, there's also a nice little storage compartment right here with another outlet. So there's actually 3 power outlets back here, but I'm surprised there's only 1 USB. I honestly think Genesis should have given you like at least 2 USBs and 2 power outlets. The rear seats do not fold, but there is a pass-through to get to the trunk. Most vehicles in this segment don't fold. The seats themselves, extremely soft, comfortable leather, nice thigh support. I mean, honestly, this is the kind of car that you want to just hire a driver and just have them drive you around, because it's a really nice car to ride in. Now, our power trunk is included in this segment. Most of the will have it, and the G90 doesn't disappoint. You can see here, looking at the trunk capacity, they actually shrunk it compared to the old Equus this year by 1 cubic feet. You're honestly not going to really notice it. It still measures at around 15.7 cubic feet. As I said before, the seats do not fold down, but if you look underneath here, there is a spare tire to be found underneath that floor, so at least they give you a temporary spare. You don't have to deal with a fix-a-flat kit like some competitors. Underneath this massively long hood, you're going to find an all-new engine for the Genesis G90. This is the company's new 3.3-liter twin-turbo gasoline direct injection V6. And now it definitely has an interesting amount of displacement at 3.3 liters, but it makes good power. 365 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque. Now this vehicle does come standard with rear-wheel drive. My particular model is all-wheel drive. It has their H-Track all-wheel drive. An 8-speed automatic is the standard transmission. Now if you guys gotta have a V8, you can still get one. It's the carryover 5-liter Tau V8. It makes 420 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. You can also get the V8 with rear or all-wheel drive. Now this is a big sedan. It weighs right around 4,700 pounds. But fuel economy, Genesis improved it over the old Equus. This particular combination is rated at 17 city, 24 on the highway. Go for the V8, it drops like 1 mpg, like 1623. Doesn't matter if you get rear or all-wheel drive. Pair with that 8-speed automatic, let's get out on the road and see how it all works, shall we? This class of vehicle is definitely the type of car that spoils its owner. I mean, it's big, it's comfortable, it's spacious, it's quiet, it's luxurious, it's fast. So when Genesis dropped off their latest G90, I was pretty excited. I mean, I actually really liked the old Equus, even though, it didn't have that fancy badge, it represented a lot of value for money. So with this all new version, I really like a lot of the changes that Genesis made. I really am eager to get on the road with this new twin turbo V6. So let's see how it all performs. Whoa. All right. Okay, so the old Equus was only offered with a 5-liter V8. So with this boosted 6-cylinder, they're really going the direction of the rest of their competition. You know, the 7 Series has a twin or turbo 6-cylinder. The A8 has a 6-cylinder supercharged V6. So this motor moves out this vehicle well. It really hides the nearly 5,000 pounds of fat that this thing, you know, lugs around. But I will say that there is a little bit of slight hesitation off the line. I'm not sure if that's the transmission or the turbo lag, but once it kicks in, you know, this thing goes like bonkers. And because this thing has all-wheel drive, there isn't really much drama. Although this does remind you when you go through corners that this is not a sports sedan. It's a pretty big, you know, luxury sedan. She's a boat. So if you start pushing it hard, I have it in a sports setting right now. It will, you know, you feel the weight. Surprisingly, it turns in very well, but you know, you feel a lot of the weight transfer around. The steering doesn't really have much feedback. Speaking of the drive modes, it's accessed through this button here. There's 4 modes. There's, you know, individual, which you can customize based on your throttle, the steering, the suspension. There's also a smart mode, which is adaptive. Whenever you put your foot down hard, it'll, you know, shift between sport to eco to normal. And then there's also a sport setting, which will leave it in sport, and there's an eco setting. For the majority of my drive, I'm actually going to leave it in sport because I really like the responses. You can literally drive it around in this setting all the time, and it's not too harsh. And the engine also makes a pretty nice noise. It's very smooth, it's very refined. You really don't notice it, and really the only thing you're gonna miss is just the sound of 8 cylinders. But you know, Genesis offers you that V8 if you guys wanna go for a V8, which has, you know, more horsepower than this V6, but similar torque numbers. Now, when you put the vehicle into its, you know, let's go into its individual driving modes. I've pretty much set that to tailor to what I like, and just drive this vehicle normally. It reminds you constantly that you've made it. You're in a luxury sedan. The ride is just impeccably serene. And this car doesn't have adaptive air suspension. It does have adaptive suspension, but it's conventional steel springs, and it just soaks up the bumps really well. And listen to this. It's so quiet. The wind noise is hushed. The engine is very muted. There's very little road noise. And you know, when you start hustling it through, you know, some of these back roads, the G90 does hold its own, but you know, it's not a sports sedan, as I said before, but that's okay because it's not its mission. This is designed to be a luxury sedan first, and it's just incredibly refreshing how, you know, Genesis decided to go with that route. It's just a really nice car to drive overall, and the visibility in here is good. Even though this is a big car, you have to get used to the size of it. The mirrors are large, you know, there's a good view out of the back, there's a nice, you know, long hood, but you can easily get used to it. But of course, Genesis does throw in all the driver assistance tech that you expect in this car, especially at this price. It's all standard equipment versus a lot of its competitors make you pay extra for like a tech or like a driver assistance package. And one thing you associate with a vehicle in this class is kind of like effortless acceleration. And the G90 certainly delivers that. Once you get over the initial lag of the engine at, you know, when you first tip into the throttle, it just kind of gives you that nice solid rush of power. And I believe the 0-60 time, there isn't much test data, is going to be around the 5.5 second range. The V8 is going to be a tad smidge quicker, like closer to the 5 second range. So this is really a lot of power, and all the power that you're really going to need. And one thing I want to test out really quickly is the adaptive cruise. This does have full stop and go capability. There's an attention monitor that monitors if you're drowsy. It has pedestrian detection, and this vehicle also has active lane keep assist. So it has semi-autonomous capabilities that work well. They do work a little bit better than what I've tested in the lower line Hyundai products. So it's nice to see that Genesis has, you know, upped the level of technology, the sensors and whatnot, to differentiate this car to make it feel more premium. Now, speaking of which, cruising on the highway, you have amazing seats, you have a really quiet interior, you have great visibility. This car basically drives itself. This is an excellent highway car. Any vehicle in this class will be, but it's definitely nice to see that Genesis has caught up. This is nicer than anything Acura has right now in terms of a full-size sedan, anything Infiniti has, anything really Lincoln has, although I haven't driven the new Continental, which is a front drive based vehicle. It can get just as expensive as this car, so that's another vehicle to consider if you guys are looking, you know, in this class. The Cadillac CT6 I was also really impressed with. The interior of this car to me feels more expensive. It feels more luxurious, and the two vehicles are pretty similar in price point. The Caddy actually can approach 90 grand, so it's more expensive. This to me has that value quotient, which is what you expect from a brand like from Genesis, from Hyundai, parent company Hyundai. Now, let's talk a little bit about the fuel economy, in case you guys are wondering. Now, most people in this class don't really care about fuel economy, but I've actually been averaging about 16 miles to the gallon in mostly city driving. On the highway, I got it up to about 23 miles per gallon. So it's not bad. I think if Genesis added like cylinder deactivation, they added start-stop, they could improve the MPG a little bit more. Thankfully, this car only recommends premium. You don't have to put premium. You can actually put regular in it. I probably would just put premium, honestly, especially if you can afford a car in this price range. Now, let's talk a little bit about the price, because that's also an important deciding factor. The old Equus actually started at around $61,000. If you compare the base Equus V8 to the G90, this has been significantly bumped in price. This car starts at $61,000 for a 3.3T, the Turbo 6. So now you get a 6-cylinder instead of an 8. Now that does represent, a big price jump, but Genesis did throw in even more features. This is an all-new platform. My particular tester, because it's all-wheel drive, is about $2,500 more. With the V6, it's either a 3.3T premium, everything comes standard, or you go to the V8, it's an ultimate trim, where again, everything comes standard. The V8 isn't as big of a jump as the V6. It's only like about $1,600 extra for the V8. My tester, as equipped with all-wheel drive, 3.3T, stickers for $71,500, great value. That's literally where a lot of its competitors start. The Lexus LS starts at like $72,000. If you want something German, they start at least 80 grand. If you want an S-Class, they start at $96,000. So again, very expensive. A fully loaded Ultimate V8 with all-wheel drive is gonna be around $73,000. Still a great value, lots of equipment. There is features missing that I mentioned earlier in my review, like massaging seats, pano sunroof, no automatic parallel parking function, no sport package and whatnot, no available, multiple different ways you can customize this car. But if that's not an issue for you, if you're looking for value for money in a luxury car, this is really the way to go. Just keep in mind that it's not the sportiest. You're gonna have to deal with the fact that Genesis is still a new brand. But if that's not a problem for you, I highly recommend this vehicle. It's definitely worth a look if you guys are shopping for a big executive sedan like this. I think you're gonna be pleasantly surprised if you decide to go with this vehicle. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview of this 2017 Genesis G90. I know this was a long review. There was a lot of features to talk about, but if you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.